for the world, and we'll announce it and answer your question.
You're live.
Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber, and I have a special guest here today, Mark Schaffner, our CFO. And we're going to cover a bunch of EV topics. We are ready for your questions. The image we like to talk about in each podcast is actually the train station in London, England. And these trains not only go above the surface, but they go underground. There's a whole labyrinth of tunnels called the London Underground. And we thought we would share this one with you. In Europe, of course, they have a lot of train-type mass transportation, unlike the U.S. here. In Phoenix, we have the light rail.
Right.
Yeah, and that took a while to install. But so again, as always, when you have a question, please tell us where you're coming in from. And anything that doesn't get answered, you can email us at ev@gruber.com. And we'll do our best to bring that question to the next podcast session. Starting things off, I would like to talk to Mark about his choice of electric vehicles. One of the benefits that we have here at the Gruber Companies is the managers get an electric vehicle, and it's typically a Tesla Model S. Mark has actually had another EV, which was the Kia.
Yes, it was a Kia Soul EV. Okay. We've owned that Kia Soul EV for a little over 5 years. Actually, it was a deal that we were able to get with Gruber Motors. Gruber Motors had, at the beginning of its existence, looked at the possibility of reselling cars and not just repairing them, and had come across a couple of EV Soul vehicles, and I ended up getting one of those. It was a great car for us for that whole 5 years, but what we found is that the 90-mile range just wasn't quite enough for what we needed.
Gotcha. Okay. What does your Model S get?
The Model S that I have right now is getting probably about 210 miles of range. I take it to a 90% charge.
Okay. All right. And so you just recently acquired another electric vehicle. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I love the EVs so much that I chose to take a look at something that would give me more range than the Soul. I looked at the Model Y, looked at the Model 3. My wife and I wanted an SUV style car, so the Model Y was really attractive to us. But it was a little bit expensive for the budget that we had. We actually found, originally we were looking at the Mustang Mach E, and found locally that the buyer's premium, or they call it a market rate adjustment, was more than $20,000 in many cases.
Really?
So that $45,000 or $50,000 Mach E was actually sitting around $70,000 to $75,000. Well, that's getting up close to the Model Y range, which was a little outside the budget we wanted to spend.
It's a substantial difference, yes.
We ended up landing on the Volvo XC40. Mm-hmm. If you remember, Volvo has announced that they're going to fully electrify their vehicles by 2030. And the XC40 is the first of the vehicles that they have fully electrified. They also have the C40, which is more of a hatchback, but this is more of a four-door SUV.
Very cool. What do you think about the interior, the quality, some of the things that you're used to in a Tesla Model S?
I really like how the Volvo compares to the Model S. The interior is very similar to the Model S. Volvo has gone, I guess I would call it, the popular political term might be woke. Mm-hmm. The leather on the seats is not actually real leather, it's more the vegan leather feel vinyl seats, but they look and feel and everything just about exactly like leather. It's a great interior, seems to be a great build quality. So far, it's a car that we've really loved.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. By the way, just some background on Mark. He is our Chief Financial Officer, and for years he was our software subcontractor for Visual Fox Pro, which is an older software package. But unfortunately, we have two main software packages that run on Visual Fox Pro, which is our accounting software, multi-featured, customized, heavily customized, and our CRM software, which is where we track our customers and even vehicles and do some billing.
That's right. You know, every once in a while, I know that the Model S people will have to take and do things like reset the MCU. I will admit as well, I've had to do that on the Volvo already, even though I've only had it for about 2 months.
Really? Yeah.
Volvo runs on the Google platform, the Google Auto platform.
Okay.
And I'm finding that the Google Auto platform, it has its little quirks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you, Mark.
Yeah.
Let me get my camera here. What? Because I know that the managers here, a lot of us, I think even Richard's Model S, they're older. I think they're 2012s or 2013s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen in the Volvo that's different? Have they learned from Tesla and added any features, or is it pretty much the same?
I've seen that, Jesse, thanks. I've seen the Volvo seems to have copied a lot of what Tesla has. You know, starting in 2015, the Model S's have the autopilot, and they have the adaptive cruise control, and they have the big map display and the good navigation, and I'm seeing all those same type of things in the Volvo. It reminded me a tremendous amount of driving a 2015 plus Model S with the autopilot and everything else. Volvo just has its adaptive cruise control and automated stopping systems and things like that. I've found that it's been a fantastic ride in that sense.
So having Mark involved in the repairs on the Teslas is also quite handy. He has a lot of background experience, and the Teslas, you know, run on firmware, and it's not always very user friendly. So one of the things that Mark has done is learn the how they operate, and uses it to troubleshoot some of our vehicles, and does a deep dive into the software.
Absolutely, and I find that the Tesla Model S's are kind of like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum a lot of times.
Uh-huh.
If something doesn't work on the software, just try it again, and eventually what you get as far as your diagnosis and software will work. And one recent situation, I was helping to teach a guy how to rekey a Model S, and the rekey routine would fail, and it would say that it couldn't communicate with the Tesla. And then we went through that process over the course of almost 45 minutes, where we were getting almost exactly the same error. And I said to my counterpart, Nick, just be patient, it'll get there. And sure enough, it failed and said, nope, it couldn't communicate with the key. Then the next time we tried it, and it said, why are you trying to do this? The key's already programmed. Sure enough, you press the key and the car comes to life.
Amazing. Amazing. What we often find is that even Tesla has a hard time. We sent a Tesla Roadster over to one of the local service centers here, and we did a battery swap, or they did a large main battery swap on this car. And you know, the first time reloading firmware is not always successful. You kind of have to try and try again. So yeah, it's handy having that skill level. Now Nick, who Mark mentioned, is our IT manager, and he's also involved in some of the Gruber Motor Company software repairs. So we're blessed and happy to have some real expertise in that area. It's badly needed, actually.
Yeah, the audience got a glimpse of Nick when he came to save your laptop last week.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I saw him a little bit. And Mark, what do you, as someone who's been in programming for a long time, what do you see that's kind of standard as far as programming and tech goes in an EV, like working on the Roadster specifically, or the Model S? What do you see that's different? Is it pretty much the same? It's a computer?
Really, the cars I'm finding are computers on wheels. A Tesla Model S and a Roadster, actually it's pretty standard across the automotive industry, runs a variation of the Linux operating system. And so pretty much the things that you can do in Linux are the things that you can do on these cars. They'll have their own set of programs that lay on top of that base operating system. They're typically done in common programming languages like JavaScript or Perl. And it's just that the routines are specific to a car and a CAN bus instead of being specific to maybe a database system running on a computer hard drive. So there's a tremendous number of similarities between the cars and and regular computer work.
I think that's the interesting thing too. Is it's the same languages, it's just a different use case, pretty much.
Different
Yeah, pretty
application.
much.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
One other thing I think people would be interested in too, and I know Pete, you wanted to kind of ask Mark about this as well. What's the situation with charging? Because you have the Model S and you have the Volvo, and they obviously don't take the same charger, right?
No, they don't. The Volvo is on the J1772 charger and has the capability of using the CCS 150 kilowatt chargers as well. And the Model S obviously uses the Model S Trident charger.
So you have both of those installed at your house?
What I have installed in my house is simply the J1772. When we got our house, we moved into a new house a couple of years ago. We made the investment to go ahead and have a couple of 240 amp drops put into our garage. So I actually have places for two different plug-ins for vehicles. One for the Model S, one was for the Kia, now is for the Volvo.
Interesting. Okay.
Nice.
Didn't find that it was a huge investment at all, and it's been really a seamless transition between the two.
Very good. So I have a newsworthy tidbit here about Elon Musk. We talk about Elon virtually every podcast. And the article says, Elon Musk is known for his unique views on all things automotive, and he recently said on Twitter that there are established automakers, which he didn't name, that are closer than they think to bankruptcy. It was a response to an individual that said everyone's focusing on Tesla, TSLA, while most other automakers are on the doorsteps of bankruptcy. Well, again, we are not financial experts. We are not giving financial advice.
That's
But
true.
as we've pointed out repeatedly, you really have to look at who is funding these new EV manufacturers. And with the Saudi investment fund, backing up Lucid, I'm not sure that there is much risk. Why would they pull out? They're not running out of money by any stretch, and this is their pivot point where they're able to continue to operate. With fossil fuel going away, the Saudis badly need to get into something else, and it looks like EVs is the place to go.
Absolutely. And with the Lucid starting their deliveries into Europe that we'll get into more, as well as the fact that Lucid is, they continue to catch a lot of positive press. Lucid's factories, of course, are here in Arizona. In the next year or so, they have their second large factory coming online. It's almost twice as big as the first one. So they're going to be able to pump out 20 or 30,000 cars a year pretty easily.
That's here in Arizona as well, that second one?
Yeah, that's here in Arizona as well.
Oh, wow, nice.
We were just talking about that the other day. The amount of tech development under construction in Arizona is really unprecedented. We've got TSMC, which hopefully is relocating from Taiwan. We don't know what China is going to do with the island.
Yep.
And and then Intel, I understand, is expanding as well.
Yeah, Mark is the one that told me about that. I think we have some more plants coming that way as well.
Yeah, if you look in the southern Phoenix area, down the south edge of the Phoenix metro area in Chandler, Intel is putting together their 7th and 8th fabrication plants.
Really?
It's over a $20 billion investment just in those two fabrication plants, and that goes along with the 2 fabrication plants that TSMC is in the process of building.
In the state of Arizona, we have a primary main airport, which is Sky Harbor, which is downtown. And then we've got a couple of regional airports, Scottsdale, actually Mesa, Luke Air Force Base, and then up north here just by our buildings. And everything is beginning to point to the fact that our neighborhood here will become a hub for air transport. Apparently there's enough land to allow large commercial jets to land, and there's already some construction that is underway to make that a reality. So we're excited because we're in the middle of this growing, expanding, high-tech area, and we're looking forward to this part of Arizona becoming another Silicon Valley. We should probably address some of the questions that are coming in. We've got Instagram, Slick Deuce Man. He says, "Sup? What's up, Slick Deuce Man? Do you have your sunglasses on, Slick Deuce Man? We were telling everybody to get the full experience here with our podcast, you really need to see what we're seeing, and then you may understand why we wear sunglasses. We even talked Mark into wearing some this morning.
That's right.
Instagram, blue collar golfer. What's the approximate cost to have a Model S 60 kW battery repaired? The most common repairs on those batteries is typically a resistive cell or a circuit board problem in one of the BMB boards. To open the cell, drop the pack, or to open the pack, we're in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $7,000 to repair it. And Tesla's solution is a complete replacement at about $22,000. So that even leaves some wiggle room for transport from anywhere in the country to our shop. Having said that, though, we are so buried with Tesla Model S repairs
I
at
was
this
just
point.
about to say that. We're
It's going to
long wait list.
Yes,
Yeah.
a long wait list. We're sorry, but it's not anything that we control. Finding people to do this type of work, and we talk about this often, is a daunting challenge. We can't go down to the local Chevy dealer and poach mechanics there. They have no idea how to work on these cars or what to do with a resistive cell and a battery pack. They don't use oscilloscopes, they don't use signal generators, they're just not in the electronics world. Very good mechanics, though. It looks like we have a LinkedIn comment from Tom Sochin. I've seen Tom on our Facebook posts as well. Welcome, Tom. And he's saying, thanks for a great show. Well, you're more than welcome.
I'm glad that we have the chance for you to watch us.
Yep. So getting back to Elon for a moment, Elon does occasionally say something positive about other automakers. The only non-Tesla EVs that he's ever brought praise to are the Ford Mustang Mach E and the Porsche Taycan. In regard to other companies currently building EVs, he's mostly predicted their downfall, especially when we're talking about startups, and they want to rival Tesla like Lucid and Rivian. Now, our position on all of this is we want everybody to succeed. The overriding goal here is to get rid of fossil fuel burners and support the companies that are making an investment in alternative energy transportation as much as we can. So we don't want to see anyone go away.
And I just saw an article, Pete, as well, that I thought was interesting. The CEO of Ford came out and said that they're going to transition everything to 100% EV, and they're putting something like up to $10 billion a year for the next 5 years into conversion.
Amazing.
And they're the ones that are one of the OEMs that are the furthest ahead, I think, as far as the Lightning and the Mach E. They're making good tracks.
Yeah, they are making some good traction. I know that the Mach E hasn't had 100% positive press with the recent recall that they've had on virtually all the Mach E models as well. But it continues to be a popular car and seems to be a good quality car overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got to test drive one, and when we were out there test driving a Rivian as well, and it was a pretty cool car. It was quick.
Now, Elon has also, of course, been accused of not being as involved in the running of Tesla as he should be, especially after buying Twitter. And I've said this dozens of times. Elon can really go and take a vacation if he likes, because not one individual can run a company that size. I mean, we're talking over 100,000 employees. There's some very talented managers and infrastructure that are making all the magic happen. And yes, Elon would definitely have some influence over the direction of the company, but the magic is happening with a whole bunch of other people. So the fact that he's distracted really should not be as great a concern as it is. In a smaller company, of course, that's different. If you have one manager and 6 employees, yeah, you're going to have a problem if that manager goes and plays golf every day.
At the same time, the tech managers in Silicon Valley are hoping that Elon stays around a little bit more. There's been press articles that have come out talking about how technology managers are afraid of losing their employees, so much so that they'll put things out like the nap rooms and the 3-day work weeks, even though they know that it's harmful to the company to do that. They're letting Elon be their troll and say, hey, you're going to have to start working full time, and we're not going to give you every single meal for free and stuff like that. And then as the employees start to complain, they say, well, hey, we're not Elon.
Right, good point. It looks like there was some more muscle flexing this last week. The Lucid Air Sapphire, it says, the article says, crushes Tesla Model S Plaid, the Bugatti Chiron, and Ducati in 9.1 second quarter miles. Now, put this in perspective. The Bugatti Chiron is north of $4 million. So the fact that a car like this, that has that much engineering and that much performance, actually lost to a four-door grocery getter, and I know this irritates people, but that's essentially what you have. You got four doors, you can take grandma, the family, the pets to the grocery store, and then to turn in that kind of performance is just unprecedented. We've never had anything like this in the auto world. But it's a video worth watching. There were four different vehicles involved, and you can see the quarter-mile run, and the Lucid Air Sapphire comes out on top with all of those vehicles. Now, you might ask, how does a crotch rocket like this, let's see, what was this? The Ducati 9.1 in 9.1 seconds. How does it get beat by a four-door sedan? Well, it's simple. When I had my P90D Ludicrous, and occasionally, not all the time, of course, I was responsible, there might be a sports bike in the left lane staging with me, and invariably, I would see them in my rearview mirror with the front wheel up in the air because they have one wheel on the ground that provides traction, and I, with all-wheel drive, have four wheels that are providing traction. So it was, you know, it was an easy win every single time.
You definitely became known for your 0 to 45.
Yes. Now, having said
acceleration.
that, you know, typically these guys were wearing bright neon colors and their ego was crushed, and by the time we got out 100 feet or so, 150 feet, they blew by me doing 90 to 120 miles an hour, which is not me. I'm not going to do that in residential neighborhoods. You know, the gauntlet was laid down, and the challenge was accepted. And, you know, for the first 200 feet or so, the Tesla P90D Ludicrous won. So pretty cool stuff. The specs on some of these cars, let me see if I can reduce the size on this. It was a tri-motor version of an Air sedan. And you can check out this video. It was put out by the team at Hagerty, a specialty car insurance company. Now that's an interesting concept, a insurance company promoting street racing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll let that rest
definitely.
there. And it wasn't enough. It said that the Sapphire took on a Ducati motorcycle head-to-head as well. So Elon may think that Lucid Motors, it says, could be on the verge of death, but the tri-motor Air sedan sure says otherwise from a speed standpoint.
I tell you, those triple motors is quite the engineering marvel. When Lucid's Dream Edition went against the Tesla Plaid and lost several months ago, the Lucid engineers found that that dual motor configuration was part of the problem, is what the video is saying. The back motor was going all out. The front motor was actually having to throttle back because the distribution of weight was so heavy on the back tires due to the acceleration. Right. The torque of two motors in the back made up for that difference, and then made it so that they could get the incredible, insane speeds that they got.
Some of the specs that they talk about in this article, at least, is that the Lucid Air Sapphire delivers 1,200 horsepower, which is nearly 200 horsepower more than the Tesla Model S Plaid. And the tri-motor design makes it the most powerful sedan in the world. They claim a 0 to 60 time under 2 seconds from a standstill. 0 100, 4 seconds. This is miles per hour, mind you. And quarter mile times, just a bit over 9 seconds. The real prize here is going to be a quarter mile time under 9 seconds. Now we know we've got, you know, some technology that trumps everything. And then top speed, over 200 miles per hour. So Lucid has promised us our own spin with the Air Sapphire in 2023. Let me reduce this so I can see. And apparently the Hagerty team has already gotten its hand on a prototype that will be going into production, and I'm sure we'll see some racing results from Hagerty.
Now, unfortunately, Lucid has not promised us at Gruber Motors our own spin. That is from the article, but I sure would love to take a spin in one of those.
You know, we talk about that sometimes, and like my 90D Ludicrous, Sunday mornings, if I haven't eaten yet, and I get on that car to go to Starbucks to get some coffee, the G-forces are so pronounced that I actually get lightheaded and queasy. I can't imagine a sub 2 second, performance in a car.
I can't either.
For some of you in the audience, maybe if you have some specifications, at what point is it blackout time for certain types of G-forces? And that would be military jets, I'm assuming.
It's crazy. I've seen some of those videos. It's a lot when they do like the astronaut testing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, did you know that there's like a cooperative now with Bugatti and Rimac?
No, I did not.
They're essentially, I think, Porsche and the CEO of Rimac. Something happened where they're in a cooperative now, where they're basically both owned 50-50 by the same people, and so it's the next Bugatti is suspected to be a crazy EV version.
Really, a blending of two super or hypercars.
Yep.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Looks like we've got some TikTok questions. Stephen Ostrow, he's asking what car. If this is related to the Sapphire Air, we were talking about the Air giving that kind of performance. We've got a TikTok question from C. Lugnut. How long is your waiting list for repairs? 8 months, guys.
It's a long time.
Except for Tesla Roadsters. There really aren't any option for the type of work that we do with Roadsters, and those we insert. And there's another problem with the Tesla Roadster. If the battery has been compromised and is bricked, the window of opportunity is brief, and what we do is we try to avoid a fatal condition in the Roadster where the battery dies. So those tend to take priority.
And Mark, somebody asked, you can see it there, you want to read that one for TikTok?
The Not So Fit Luis asked about what recall did the Mach E have. I don't have a lot of details on the recall itself. I do remember reading about it being a safety recall for some of the systems that were inside the Mach E, but I don't have more specific information than that.
Okay, we can look into that and pull that up next show probably.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I have this top comment up here from Tom. I just wanted to show you guys that he is the president of the Tesla Owners West Sweden. He is promoting this live stream for us.
Oh, perfect. Okay. That was Tom Sochan. Thank you. So there's another comment here from TikTok, Stephen Ostro. Jet fighter apparently pulls 3 Gs.
I think he's commenting on what it would take for a blackout.
What the blackout is, yeah.
Prompted by your question there. We have another one coming in as well.
So from YouTube, Jesus Melendez, he says he feels that a 5-second 0 to 60 is more than adequate. I don't understand why the race for speed. More range is what will sell cars. Good point. More battery range will definitely improve the adoption of EVs.
There's been a lot of press as well, though, about how range is not the be-all and end-all on EVs.
Mm-hmm.
I agree completely. My Volvo has a range of 230 miles. And with that range of 230 miles, I feel comfortable potentially traveling out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
But the 95% of my travel is all done in city. And the 100-mile range that I had in my Kia Soul was completely adequate for the majority of my travels. So there is going to become a limit on range. Personally, I do wish I could get a car that had at least 300 miles of range, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd have to get a semi.
Yes.
Now we're going to 500. So it looks like they named the Ducati sports bike that was involved in this race. It was a Ducati Panigale V4 SB2, and it reached a top speed of, I think it's cut off here, higher than the Air Sapphire at 157 miles an hour for this run. And the Air Sapphire, of course, has proven its speediness over the Tesla Model S, but it's still a foe, or there is one foe for them to race, which in order to be named the fastest on the planet, and that's the Rimac Nevera. So if they're joining up with Bugatti, we'll see some interesting things coming out of that.
Hey, Pete, if you look up
Yeah.
there, we just got a comment from Zane.
Oh, there's Zane, okay. Zane, coming in on YouTube. Zane is our co-host normally. He says, hypercars are becoming the wildest hybrids ever built. Between Hyundai's hydrogen hybrid and Ferrari's new lineup getting electrified with combustion generators, it's going to be fun to watch, without a doubt.
I would totally agree with that as well.
And there's some old drag racing slogans. I remember that from the 60s. What wins on Sunday sells on Monday. Very true. The car dealers realized that if they took their stock cars to the drag races, the sales would jump on that particular model the following Monday. I've got a picture I wanted to show you. Can you guys bring up that Rivian, the R1T? What we have here is the new electric pickup truck from Rivian, and it's been awarded the top safety pick from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. What was amazing to me once the picture goes up there is take a look at the amount of crushing and damage these cars go through. And the fact that this car actually got a rating, excuse me, a rating like this is just remarkable. Of course, you don't want to be an occupant in this level of testing where you need crash test dummies for this.
Oh my gosh, yes. You know, and the IIHS is a more rigorous testing entity than the standard government tests that go out.
Is it?
Volvo is renowned for its safety, and so when I see articles on Volvo, I like to read them. I saw something on the XC40 about how it's still a safe vehicle. These safety tests typically are designed just for drivers in the driver's seat, and the safety rating is set as such. Mm-hmm. The article that was out there was about, well, what about the other people? What about the 12-year-old child sitting in the back seat? You could see the Rivian has 4 doors and would be also likely to do that. And the IIHS will conduct those type of tests. Your regular government agencies, the National Transportation Safety Board, does not. So IIHS is much more rigorous in their testing.
So it looks like we've got a YouTube comment here from Warren Raven. He says, look up on YouTube, Gas Monkey Garage just went 310.8 miles per hour in a GT40. That, of course, is a fossil fuel burner, but still a commendable top speed. Okay, so Tesla shares. Most people don't like talking about it. Most of us have portfolios, and we're suffering. There's no doubt about that. Of course, hope springs eternal, and there really is nothing fundamentally wrong with Tesla other than these shiny objects that are currently distracting investors from Tesla. Fundamentally, their production capacity, nothing has dramatically changed. In fact, if anything, as earnings continue to come out, we're going to be amazed at what Tesla's able to pull off. But Tesla shares did rise 2% pre-market after Elon promises to step down as Twitter CEO. And this was Wednesday. Yesterday, it went to 140.60. And Elon vowed to abide by the Twitter poll in which 57.5% of the voters said that he should give up the top post at the social media company. Do you remember we were speculating? He laid down the gauntlet. Is he really going to go through with it? And apparently he is. Now, he did add a caveat. He said, well, I just hope I can find somebody foolish enough to take the job. There was another comment made that whoever takes the job is going to have to put oodles of their own money into the company. Well, that may be a deal breaker. If the company is suffering financially, you know, that may not happen. But apparently, Tesla shares are now worth less than Exxon, and they're set for their worst month, quarter, and year in history. Shares tumbled 8% on Tuesday after falling below what is seen as a critical battle line. In the world of investing, you have support levels, and it was $150 a share. And unfortunately, once a stock cruises through a support level, it rapidly continues to decline. So we'll just have to keep an eye on what Tesla is going to, how it's going to evolve as it continues to turn in great deliveries and earnings and expansion and new plants and all of that.
You know, it seems so odd, and it just talks to the emotional nature of the investors. Back when Tesla was a startup, had never earned a dime, was losing money hand over fist, the share prices just kept going up and up and up and up. Now you've got the most profitable car company in the world, putting out 500,000 cars a year, continuing to just kill it profitability-wise, and their shares are down 70% so far this year.
Yeah.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
It's yeah, it's emotion, pure and simple.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to wait until the emotion dies down. It looks like Zane, our normal co-host, has a comment from YouTube. The affected 2022 Mustang Mach E half-shaft stem could end up breaking when it's under load. Nearly 1,200 models are potentially impacted by the recall issued by Ford with support from the NHTSA. So it looks like the stock right now, according to Bill Wood on TikTok, Tesla is 128.90. That's probably the lowest that we've seen it in quite some time.
Thank you, Zane, so much for the extra details on that recall too.
I got a quick question for you, Mark. Just to go back to the safety and the Volvo for a second.
Yeah.
What? I guess this could be for you too, Pete. I don't know, what is it that makes these EVs so much safer than other vehicles where they keep setting records? And then for you, Mark, excuse me, is that Volvo fast? Does it have the typical EV speed and acceleration?
First, I'll address your second question. Yeah, the Volvo's fast. It actually has the same type of acceleration as the Model S. It's got two motors, so it's a permanent all-wheel drive vehicle. Each motor puts out 202 horsepower, and It has close to 500 foot-pounds of torque. That leaves me with a vehicle that's a little smaller, just a little bit smaller than the Model Y in terms of size, fairly lightweight, but their center of gravity is super low, and it's incredibly quick off the line or driving in traffic, what I need to do. Yeah. I really love the car being an agile car like that.
And I'm sure that has something to do with the safety too. Low center of gravity, doesn't flip over.
Definitely
or hard
does.
to flip over, I guess, you know.
You know, Volvo is well known over the years of being incredibly safety conscious, and Volvo adapted an ICE engine vehicle and made it into an electric vehicle. So they took that expertise from safety, a safety standpoint, and applied it into this particular EV. As a result, the Volvo of the small SUV categories that the IIHS did the tests with for the passengers, like a 12-year-old passenger in the back seat, was one of only 3 models that actually reached a good rating in safety for that, and they still have the top safety ratings. Wow. Amongst that class of car.
Amazing. So it looks like Lucid has just completed deliveries of the Air Dream Edition in the United States, but Europeans are only beginning to get acquainted with this electric luxury sedans limited run series. Customers in Germany and the Netherlands are the first to take delivery, and it is a limited production Dream Edition. It's available in 2 distinct versions, range and performance. Looks like we have another bit of investment advice from YouTube. Leish said, there's an old saying, buy the rumor and sell the news. Now Tesla is measurable and comparable to other stocks. hence the valuation comes to reality. So getting back to the Dream Edition, the Dream Edition Lucid is a dual motor all-wheel drive setup with more power, 828 kW or 1100 horsepower, which enables it to accelerate 0 to 100 in, or 0 to 62 in 2.7 seconds. Its driving range is 535 miles. There goes your long distance EV
Yeah,
that
there
you're
we
looking
go.
for.
Yeah.
And that's with 19-inch wheels. It also has, and this gets discussed a lot in our podcast, it has the 900-volt electrical architecture that enables ultra-fast charging.
I think that's the one we had in here that we got to test drive.
We did, okay.
A Dream Edition, yeah, that thing was pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like Max Gruber has joined us on Instagram. Hello, Max. Do you have a question for us?
Hey, Max, good to hear that you're here.
Zane Courtney, he pulled it from this information he shared with us this morning. He pulled it from a recent Inside EVs article. He says, I'm a professional and I cite my sources. And we also need locations from you guys. We'd love to see when we see Norway, Senegal, Australia. We've had South Africa, Asia, and it's always fun to see where people are coming in from and whether we're interrupting your sleep patterns. All right, so there's a car that actually Richard pointed out to me, the Tango. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. It is a small, almost a go-kart looking car. We've got a picture. Can we bring that up?
Yeah, I'm pulling that picture up right now, and just so people know, I'm pretty sure this is not photoshopped, even though it looks crazy. You'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second.
Okay.
Very thin, skinny-looking cars.
I hope it's a JPEG. Yeah, there we go. So apparently, the California Highway Patrol allows these cars to zip in between traffic lanes, like they do with motorcycles. I've always found that a bit unnerving. In fact, my wife found it so unnerving, she actually ran our Tesla Model S into a curb 2 months ago because there was a motorcycle that was right next to her window, and she thought he was going to hit her. And
Well, we just legalized it here, right? Didn't that just happen, Richard? You know more about that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is legal in Arizona
splitting.
now at stoplights.
At
When
stoplights,
traffic is
okay.
not moving. We cannot do it when traffic is moving.
Ah.
I ride. I wish we could, but we can't do it at stoplights.
Right?
It doesn't mean that people don't do it while traffic is moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this little car apparently has been around for some time. It's been around before the Tesla Roadster even. And it is a single commuter vehicle. It has a very low center of gravity. It looks pretty top heavy, but they've done a number of tests that demonstrate that this thing is very difficult to tip over. And the coolest part about this is you can do a 90-degree park. So if you've got a bunch of regular vehicles against the curb, this car will go in at a 90-degree angle in between the cars because it's that short. It's like 6 feet or something like that.
Yeah, and Pete, I think it takes a 57-degree turn for it to tip over.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's because it's got almost all of the weight is there at the bottom of that battery pack. Same thing as with the other EVs we've been talking about. It's the same concept that keeps it safe and upright.
They've got some interesting specs here. It has the lowest center of gravity of any car. That's kind of a wild claim. It's 2,200 pounds under the floor. The total weight with vehicle is 3,326. And 0 to 60 is 3.2 seconds. Quarter mile, 12.21 seconds. Now I think I've got a few more specs here that I collected as I continue to look for this.
That is just an amazing little car. It reminds me of a smart car, but in an EV format, where the car is like only 8 feet long and you can park it sideways.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing is, Richard, I think you were saying it predates EVs and smart cars for the most part, right?
Correct. Yeah. So this car was first released in 2005. So it predates even our Roadster.
Amazing. And it looks like this can get down to an 11-second quarter mile, which is a half a second slower than a Bugatti Veyron, which costs now apparently $1.2 million. And The Tango vehicle is powered with 1,000 lithium-ion batteries located under the seat. And on a full charge, this little single commuter car can travel 120 miles, which of course is plenty for, you know, single driving, commute around town. It has its origins in China, and it also apparently, they're saying that this battery is what's responsible for this extremely low center of gravity. So you can take high-speed turns, and it's not going to go anywhere. Pretty cool. So they don't cite a price. If anybody knows what that is, we'll pop it up if you find it.
Yeah, this little guy, you guys might want to hold on to your seats here. $300,000.
You're serious?
I'm 100% serious.
Oh, they're not selling very many, are they?
No, it hasn't reached it hasn't reached mass production. And
Got
so
it.
everything on it is, yeah. And one thing I wanted to say about this car is it's built like a rally car. Like it's got the full roll cage, it's got the bucket seats with the dual seat belts that come in and strap you in. And it's got a rear seat. It's not a single driver. It's got one driver in the front, and then it's like a fighter jet where they've got somebody right behind you. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I watched a video on or by Donut Media. Check it out. It's really cool. It's super funny. But they really spend a lot of time fine tuning this thing and making sure it ran like a race car.
So, you know, some of the early Roadster adopters apparently bought this car. George Clooney being one. He had Tesla Roadster VIN number 8, and he wasn't real happy with it. It was one of the pre-release, almost an engineering prototype, and he had a lot of problems with his Roadster. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger also apparently has one of these Tangos. So, cool. All right. Now, we've got a picture of a 911. You guys might want to pop that up as well. We're talking about vintage Porsche styling. And before we get that picture up, it looks like Instagram, 9K2JW. Hi, Mr. Gruber. I'm Anwar from Kuwait. What is the most consumed spare parts in a Tesla? I would say that the biggest problems that you're going to have in a legacy or an older Model S Tesla are door handles and window regulators.
Definitely.
And initially, MCUs, there were chips that just weren't robust enough, and virtually everyone had to go through a chip upgrade in order to keep their car running. Aside from that, it's extraordinarily low maintenance. As everyone points out, you can do one pedal driving. Once you learn to drive the car, you don't need brakes anymore because the car will actually stop itself and charge the battery. So what I mean by once you learn to drive the car, you don't want to go hurtling into every red light and using your brakes. Once you learn how to drive it, you back off the accelerator or the brake pedal, and the accelerator, correct. And then you would get some slow stopping, without having to apply brakes.
You know, as I was learning how to drive that Model S that I have, found the same thing. When you're driving a gas vehicle, you don't even think about it. You take your foot off the accelerator and coast a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that way you can keep your driving style smooth and everything goes fine. You take your foot off the accelerator on a Model S and you're slowing down immediately. Mm-hmm. I used to have my passengers complain that I was making them car sick.
Really?
Now, is that the same way in the Volvo? Does it have Regen?
Not only does it have Regen, the braking in the Volvo is actually even more aggressive than what I have in the Model S.
Yeah.
If I take my foot completely off the accelerator, compared to a car with an ICE engine, it's pretty much like I've taken my car off the accelerator and put my foot on the brake.
Yeah, and it just kind of stops pretty crazy. That's how it was with that Lucid, Pete, that we had here.
Yeah.
The Dream Edition that we got to go test drive. The guy was showing us how he could set the different levels of Regen that he wanted.
Adjustable Regen, yeah. You know, the T0 that we had for about 6 months or so was way ahead of its time, and it had adjustable Regen braking. And when you dialed it way down, you took your foot off that accelerator, and that car would begin to stop fairly quickly. It is definitely an energy-saving feature in any of these EVs because you're charging your battery. Here's a funny story. Our T0 was actually the car that they took up to Pikes Peak. And, you know, the switchbacks and, you know, trying to make the best time and all that. So they get all the way up there and they decide, oh, you know what, we don't have any charge left. So let's do a 120-volt charge. So they were up there for hours waiting for this thing to charge up. Then they realized after it had gotten a pretty decent amount of charge, that was a mistake, because going down the hill now, you can't turn the Regen off completely, and it was going to boil those lead-acid batteries on the way down. So literally, they spent 3 hours up on top of Pikes Peak running around the parking lot to drain off some of that charge. These are the types of stories, though, that we're going to be able to share as the EV you know, history becomes communicated. Speaking of that, we have a video that will be released today. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, probably
Okay.
here in the next hour or two after the show.
Okay. This is a video that was taken at the Peterson Auto Museum on the Tesla Roadster / Lotus Elise test mule. And in 2002, Tesla actually got a Lotus Elise to prepare the production run for the Roadster. And what this car is they put a T0, or an AC propulsion systems drivetrain, in it. And that was originally supposed to be the drivetrain for the Tesla Roadster. What they found is that the analog inverter, analog versus digital, of course, was unreliable and was buggy. So they ended up going to a company in Taiwan, Chroma, and ended up having a digital power electronics module built, which seemed to solve all of the problems that they had with this analog drivetrain. But it's a piece of history. Our video will show the vehicle, and like most Lotus products, its design was way ahead of its time. It's just a beautiful yellow car with scoops and you know, gorgeous lines. So it's well worth seeing. That will be released in the next few hours, and you'll be able to view that on our YouTube channel, which is Gruber Motors. Gruber Motors, just Gruber Motors, right? Yeah.
You know, Bill Wood has, from TikTok, a good comment as well on the Model S's, and something we don't think about here in the desert very much. He says on his Model S, he replaces wiper blades. It says, I replace my blades about every 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, our blades are more likely to dry rot from
Yeah.
not being used in the sun than they are to be used in the rain. So, Bill, that's a good point.
Yeah, very much so.
And one thing, Pete, we are at 58 minutes, so I already pulled up that image. I took it down. I can pull it back, though, if you want to go into the Porsche stuff.
Well, we've got a, yeah, let's go into the 911. What I liked about this image was they really kept the styling cues. Now, it's unclear in this article, at least, whether this is the body from a 911, because it does reference some carbon fiber panels. So I don't know whether this was a recreation using carbon fiber, but you can see those 911 lines. It's a company called Everrati Automotive, and what they do in the UK is they make basically crate engines for legacy cars, and they decided to do one for the Porsche 911. They have a US counterpart here in the US called Aria Group, A-R-I-A. Okay, Everrati is in Oxfordshire, England. And so anyway, with this partnership, they are now able to retrofit 911s, and they're based in Irvine, California. We run into this often, trying to import cars into the United States from another part of the world. Seems to be an act of Congress. How are you guys doing with Win 507, by the way?
We're still working through the red tape.
Are we?
Yeah. It's a matter of, you know, go fill out this form, get it in, and then they'll tell you the next form that they have to fill out. And of course, you don't hear about it ahead of time. Right.
So yeah, it's a daunting project to import a vehicle chassis into the United States, and Tesla most certainly ran into that problem with the Roadster, because the majority of the Tesla, well, all of the Tesla Roadsters really came from the UK, from Lotus. By the way, shout out and hats off to Lotus for continuing to create over-the-top styling cars. This this small yellow test mule that we're doing the video on now definitely has some nice curves in its DNA. We have a trucker Alistair from YouTube. He's from Canada, and he said, but don't forget to turn off your Regen braking on snowy roads. Good point. A friend of mine jackknifed his semi when he forgot to turn the engine brake off. Keep it up, Mr. Gruber. Greetings from Canada. Thank you for joining us, trucker Alistair. All right. It's, I think we're wrapping up here, unless we have any final questions. Or Mark, do you have anything you want to share with our audience?
You know, thank you guys for inviting me to be a part of this today. The time has gone fast, and it's been a fun and great time.
Yeah.
I hope that I get the chance to do this again.
Time does run away from us, and our TikTok guys, by the way, are here. We try to give them lots of credit because they're really on their own over here to the side. The rest of them are streamed with the larger cameras. But TikTok yet does not see our green screen or what we popped up there. But if you go to YouTube, you can see the London Underground and the train station in London, England. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Our next podcast will be Tuesday next week. We get Monday off, right?
Yes, we get Monday off.
Okay. So we'll be doing another session Tuesday next week. And in the meantime, anytime you have questions, send them to ev@gruber.com. We also have some Facebook sites that you can enter questions into. And as always, we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.